The unexpected encounter. The stars glittered in the vastness of space, silent and unchanging. In the heart of the Galactic Empire, a world of power, wealth, and control, the leaders of the Empire ruled without question. The Empire had conquered countless worlds across the galaxy, its forces unstoppable, its technology advanced beyond measure. No one had ever dared to challenge their might. But today, things were different. A young technician, Jorak, sat at a console, staring at the screen in front of him. He was one of the many who worked quietly in the shadows of the Imperial fleet, unnoticed by most. His job was simple: monitor the galactic scans, keep an eye on enemy movements, and report anything unusual. It was a boring task, one he had done for years without incident. Until now. Jorak's eyes widened as the strange readings appeared on his screen. At first, he thought it was a mistake, a glitch in the system. But as he double-checked the data, his heart began to race. The signals were coming from a planet on the outer rim of the galaxy, Earth. It was a backwater world, one that the Empire had never bothered with. There were no known records of any advanced civilizations there, and the planet had never been on the radar. But now, something was happening there. The signals were unlike anything Jorak had seen before. They were erratic, like the pulse of a heartbeat, strong and steady, but also growing. It was as though the planet itself was awakening. The energy levels were rising. Jorak hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do. This was far beyond his pay grade. But curiosity got the best of him. He sent a report to his superior, Admiral Kor, and waited. A few minutes passed, and then the reply came. "Bring the data to me immediately." The Admiral's message read. Within moments, Jorak was standing before Admiral Kor in the Grand Command Center, a room filled with maps and holographic displays of the galaxy. The Admiral was a tall, imposing figure with a cold, calculating expression. His reputation was legendary. He was known for his ruthless efficiency and his ability to crush any threat with ease. Yet, as Jorak presented the readings, he saw a flicker of concern in Kor's eyes. "Are you sure about this?" the Admiral asked, his voice low. "Yes, Admiral," Jorak replied, his hands shaking slightly. "The signals are real. They're coming from Earth." Admiral Kor turned to the giant map of the galaxy displayed in front of them, his eyes narrowing as they fixed on Earth. The planet was small, insignificant compared to the mighty worlds the Empire controlled. It was a world of primitive humans, barely capable of space travel, according to old reports. The Empire had never had any reason to worry about it. But now, things had changed. Kor tapped a button on the console, and the galaxy map zoomed in on Earth. His mind raced as he considered the possibilities. Could this be a hidden threat? A new race with advanced technology? Or was it just a fluke, something that would fizzle out? He didn't take chances. "Prepare the fleet," Kor ordered. "I want a full investigation of this planet. Send a warning to Earth. Tell them they have one chance to leave their planet or face the consequences." Jorak's eyes widened. "A warning, Admiral." Kor turned to him, his expression hard. "The Empire does not allow surprises. If these humans are trying to play with forces they don't understand, we will put an end to it before it grows." With a snap of his fingers, a series of orders were given, and soon ships were mobilizing. In a matter of hours, a fleet of warships, led by Kor's flagship, would be on its way to Earth. The humans would be given one chance: leave or face the full force of the Galactic Empire. As the fleet prepared to depart, Kor stood alone on the bridge, staring out into the void of space. His mind was filled with the possibilities. What if these humans had stumbled upon something dangerous? What if they were more advanced than they appeared? He shook his head. It didn't matter. The Empire was invincible. The humans would either submit to their power or be destroyed. There was no middle ground. Meanwhile, on Earth, everything was calm. People went about their daily lives, unaware of the impending threat. On the surface, Earth seemed like a peaceful world, full of bustling cities, forests, oceans, and skies. The human race, despite its flaws, had survived for thousands of years, slowly advancing, creating technology, and exploring their own solar system. But they were still limited by the confines of their world. The vast universe was something they could only dream about. In a small laboratory in a quiet city, a team of scientists worked tirelessly on their latest project, a ship designed to travel beyond the boundaries of their solar system. It had been years in the making, and the dream of exploring the stars was finally within their reach. Little did they know, their dream would soon bring them face to face with something much bigger than they ever imagined. As the Imperial fleet approached Earth, the humans would receive their first warning. It was a warning they would not understand, a threat they could not fathom. But it would set the stage for a conflict that would change the course of history forever. The battle for Earth had begun. The humans fight back. The silence of space was shattered by the roar of engines as the Galactic Empire's fleet approached Earth. In the command center of Admiral Kor's flagship, the tension was palpable. The screens flickered with real-time data as the Imperial warships closed in on their target. The vast armada, consisting of dozens of battlecruisers and destroyers, moved with deadly precision, each ship a symbol of the Empire's overwhelming strength. Admiral Kor stood in front of the large viewport, gazing at the blue and green planet below. His mind was focused, calculating, and ruthless. Earth was nothing more than an obstacle in the Empire's way, a primitive world that had dared to make its presence known. It was time to put an end to their insolence. "Prepare the weapons," Kor ordered, his voice cold. "We'll send a message they'll never forget." But as the fleet descended into the atmosphere, something unexpected happened. The first wave of Imperial firepower, a barrage of energy beams aimed at Earth's surface, was intercepted by a strange force. The shots fizzled out mid-flight, vanishing into thin air before they could reach the planet. Kor's eyes narrowed. What was that? A technician at the console quickly analyzed the data, her fingers moving frantically across the keyboard. "Sir, it's coming from Earth. The humans. They've developed some kind of energy shield. We're not sure how, but it's stopping our attacks." Kor clenched his jaw, his patience wearing thin. Impossible. How could they? He paused, realizing that the humans must have secretly developed technology far beyond what their records showed. The Empire had underestimated them. Meanwhile, on Earth, panic was just beginning to spread. The sudden appearance of strange, glowing ships in the sky was unlike anything the human race had ever seen. People screamed in terror as the ships began to fire on the planet, but to their amazement, the attacks seemed to vanish before reaching the ground. It was as if Earth itself was protecting them. In the midst of this chaos, a young engineer named Maya stood in a crowded control room, watching the data pouring in from all over the world. Maya had been part of a secret government project to develop advanced space defense systems, but even she couldn't believe what she was seeing. "Sir, the shield is holding," Maya said to her superior officer, General Rowan. Her voice trembled, but she knew that Earth's survival depended on their next move. "The technology is working. We're actually stopping them." Rowan, a grizzled veteran of many wars, looked grimly at the screen. "That's good news, but it won't be enough. They'll try something else, something worse. We need to fight back." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Governments across the world scrambled to respond, activating secret military programs and deploying every resource at their disposal. The Earth Defense Forces were mobilized, and despite the overwhelming odds, the humans were determined to defend their planet. Maya and her team worked tirelessly to develop countermeasures. They quickly realized that their defense shields would only delay the inevitable. The Empire's ships were far too powerful, and Earth's technology was no match for their advanced weaponry. But Maya had an idea, a desperate one. "We need to think bigger," she said, speaking to General Rowan and the other scientists in the room. "We can't just defend ourselves. We need to hit them back. We need to strike first. Rowan raised an eyebrow. You're talking about building a weapon? Maya nodded. Not just any weapon. Something that could take out their ships in one strike. I've been working on a project that could harness the planet's energy reserves into a weapon of unimaginable power. It's risky, but if we don't try, Earth won't survive. The room fell silent as everyone considered her words. The Empire's fleet was relentless, and Earth's defenses were running out of time. A weapon was their only chance. Meanwhile, Admiral Kor watched in disbelief as Earth's forces seemed to adapt faster than he had ever anticipated. He had expected their feeble defenses to crumble in an instant, but instead they were holding strong. His fleet had already taken heavy damage from the energy shield, and now it seemed that Earth had something else. A weapon of its own. Target their major cities, Kor ordered, his voice sharp. Leave nothing behind. They want to play with fire. Let's see how they handle the heat. The Empire's ships began to fire with renewed intensity, targeting Earth's largest cities. But this time, the humans were ready. Across the globe, soldiers, engineers, and scientists were working together, activating hidden launch sites and deploying newly constructed weapons. The energy shield flickered but held strong, preventing most of the Empire's assault from reaching the surface. Then, just as the first missiles from the Imperial fleet began their descent, Maya's weapon fired. A massive beam of concentrated energy shot from the Earth's surface, cutting through space like a blade. The beam connected with one of the Empire's warships, and in an instant, the ship exploded into a brilliant burst of light, disintegrating into 1,000 pieces. Admiral Kor's eyes widened as he saw the destruction on his command screen. The humans had done the impossible. They had struck back. This can't be," Kor shouted, his voice filled with disbelief. "No one challenges the Empire and survives." But Maya's shot had only been the first. The humans, desperate and determined, were not backing down. Earth's defense systems were now firing back with everything they had, launching missiles, energy blasts, and even electromagnetic pulses that disabled some of the Empire's advanced technology. The humans were not only fighting to survive, they were fighting for their future. Kor clenched his fists, his frustration mounting. The war had only just begun, and the humans had already proven they weren't as helpless as the Empire had thought. Now, the stakes were higher than ever. He couldn't afford to underestimate them again. This war was far from over. On Earth, the people had only just begun to realize the true scale of the conflict. The first wave of attacks had shown them that their world was in danger, but they had also discovered something more powerful than they had ever imagined. Their own strength. Humans had just taken their first steps into a war that would determine not only their survival but their place in the galaxy. And the battle had only just begun. The Galactic Empire's response. The battle over Earth had taken a turn no one could have anticipated. The Empire, which had once viewed Earth as a mere speck in the vastness of the galaxy, was now faced with the unimaginable. A world of primitive humans had dared to fight back, and they had won their first victory. Admiral Kor stood at the bridge of his flagship, his mind racing. His fleet had suffered losses, but nothing compared to the devastation he had witnessed from Earth's counterattack. He stared out into the void of space, his eyes dark with anger. This wasn't just a small skirmish. The humans were more dangerous than he had ever imagined, and their technology was far more advanced than any intelligence report had indicated. It was time to escalate the conflict. "We will crush them," Kor muttered to himself, his voice cold and filled with malice. "They will regret ever raising a hand against the Galactic Empire." Kor turned to his command officers. "Initiate Phase 2 of the invasion. I want all fleets ready for immediate deployment. The humans' defenses are impressive, but they are nothing compared to what we are about to unleash." One of his top officers, Captain Elan, spoke up. "Admiral, we've already sustained significant damage. We've lost a third of our fleet in the first engagement. Shouldn't we consider retreating or regrouping before launching a full assault? Kor turned sharply to face her, his eyes narrowing. You question my orders, Captain. His voice was icy, and there was no room for hesitation in his tone. We are not retreating. Earth is a blip on the map. They've proven they can fight, but they don't understand the power of the Empire. This will be their last stand. As the Admiral's voice echoed through the command center, the orders for reinforcements were issued. The Galactic Empire's response was swift and merciless. More warships, more firepower, more soldiers were on their way. The fleet that had been destroyed by the humans' energy weapon was just a fraction of what the Empire had at its disposal. Kor knew that in numbers and sheer might, there was no way Earth's forces could withstand the full force of the Empire's power. It was time to show them just how powerless they really were. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the humans had no idea what was coming. Their leaders had seen the results of their first successful counterattack, but they were not naive enough to think the battle was won. General Rowan stood in the war room, studying the latest reports. The humans had held off the Empire's first strike, but the world knew the real fight was still ahead. We've given them a taste of what we can do, but this is far from over, General Rowan said, pacing back and forth. The Empire won't just sit back after losing one ship. They'll come back with everything they have. Maya, the young engineer who had developed the weapon that struck down the Empire's warship, stood beside him. General, we need to keep building our defenses. They'll send more ships, more powerful weapons, but I don't think Earth's defenses will hold up against another direct assault. We need something bigger, something that can hit them before they even get close. Rowan nodded grimly. We've already deployed every weapon we have. If we wait for them to strike again, we might not have enough time to regroup. We need to hit them where it hurts, before they can even think about attacking. Maya's mind was already racing, considering every possibility. What if we could disrupt their entire fleet, cut off their command center, take out their communications, and prevent them from coordinating their attacks? Rowan raised an eyebrow. You mean a strike at the heart of their operations? Exactly, Maya said. If we target their flagship, we could cripple their entire fleet. If we knock out their communications and leadership, the rest of their warships might lose their will to fight. The idea was bold, reckless even, but it was their only shot. The Empire's fleet was large and powerful, but if they could sever the command structure, the humans might just stand a chance. Back in space, Kor's forces were advancing. The reinforcements had arrived, and the full might of the Galactic Empire was now ready to be unleashed. The fleet was enormous, far beyond what Earth had faced in their initial skirmish. Massive ships, capable of destroying entire cities with a single blast, lined up behind Kor's flagship. They were preparing for the final assault. Kor stood before his console, watching the fleet's movements on the screen. We're going to end this. Earth will be a warning to any other world that dares to defy us. As the fleet moved into position, Kor made a decision that would forever alter the fate of humanity. He ordered the deployment of the Nebula Strike, a weapon of mass destruction that had only been used in the most dire of circumstances. It was capable of vaporizing entire continents with a single pulse. The humans had proven their strength, but Kor was determined to show them the true power of the Empire. Prepare the Nebula Strike, Kor ordered. Once this is over, there will be no more resistance. Earth will be nothing but a forgotten memory. As the weapon powered up, a dark cloud seemed to gather around the Imperial fleet. The humans had no idea what was coming. In their desperation to defend their planet, they had only scratched the surface of the Empire's true capabilities. The full might of the Empire was about to descend upon Earth, and no one, not even Maya's brilliant mind, could predict the consequences. On Earth, the humans were already preparing their next move. Maya and General Rowan, along with their team of engineers and scientists, had begun building a new weapon, a countermeasure that could disrupt the Empire's weapon systems. But time was running out. The Nebula Strike was about to launch, and the humans would have to act fast, or they would lose everything. As the countdown to destruction began, a new question loomed large. Could humanity stop the unstoppable? Could they outsmart a force as ancient and powerful as the Galactic Empire? Only time would tell, but the war for Earth's future was about to enter its most dangerous phase. Humanity's survival instinct. The Imperial fleet hung ominously over Earth, its weapons primed, its commanders confident in their impending victory. The Nebula strike was ready. In a matter of minutes, the Empire's most devastating weapon would wipe out entire continents, reducing Earth to nothing more than a smoldering ruin. Admiral Kor stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the countdown as the weapon powered up. A dark sense of triumph filled him. The humans had proven resilient, but they had no idea how outmatched they truly were. "Prepare to launch," Kor ordered, his voice unwavering. But on Earth, something unexpected was happening. In a small underground bunker, General Rowan, Maya, and a team of top scientists worked feverishly. Time was their enemy. They had learned about the Nebula strike from intercepted Imperial communications, and they knew that if they didn't act quickly, Earth would be wiped off the map. It was a weapon of unimaginable power, capable of destroying not just cities, but entire nations in the blink of an eye. To stop it, they would have to disrupt the entire Imperial fleet's systems, something that had never been done before. "General, we need more time," Maya said, her voice laced with desperation, as she hunched over the holographic interface, studying the Empire's fleet configuration. "If we can't get past their shields, the disruption signal won't reach the Nebula strike in time." Rowan clenched his fists, frustration mixing with the sharp edges of fear. "How much time do we have left before they fire?" Maya's fingers flew across the keyboard, eyes darting between the countdown and the scattered schematics of the Empire's technology. 5 minutes, she replied, her tone tight. "We have to act now." In that moment, General Rowan made a decision. It wasn't just about defense anymore. It was about taking the fight to the Empire. If they couldn't disable the Nebula strike, they had no hope. But if they could somehow target the core systems controlling the weapon, if they could create a diversion, then they might just have a chance. "We need a team to infiltrate their command ship, disrupt their systems from the inside," Rowan ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Maya, can your team hack into their communications?" "Yes," Maya said, without hesitation. "But the command ship is heavily protected. It will be risky, but it's our only shot." And so, a daring plan was born. A small team of elite soldiers, led by Commander Ava, would launch a covert mission to board the flagship of the Imperial fleet. Their objective: to break into the heart of the command center, disable the Nebula strike systems, and hopefully turn the tide of the war in Earth's favor. The team assembled quickly, their faces grim and determined. They knew the odds were slim. The Empire's warships were heavily armed, and the flagship was the most secure ship in the fleet. But humanity's survival was on the line, and they were willing to do whatever it took. As they prepared to leave the underground bunker and board the stealth shuttle that would take them to the heart of the Empire's forces, Maya made one final plea. "Commander Ava, don't just disable the Nebula strike. If you can, take down their entire command network. If we can destroy their ability to coordinate, we might force them to retreat." Ava gave her a curt nod. "Understood. We'll do everything we can, Maya. Earth's survival depends on us now." The shuttle, cloaked in the shadows of space, launched from Earth's surface, heading straight for the heart of the Imperial fleet. As it approached, the crew remained silent, their hearts pounding in their chests. Ava knew that if they were caught, there would be no chance of escape, but she also knew that if they succeeded, they could change everything. Back on Earth, the countdown continued. Admiral Kor watched as his fleet readied itself. He was certain that nothing could stop the Nebula strike now. His forces were overwhelming, his technology superior. The humans had managed to put up a brief fight, but their resistance was futile. Earth was on the verge of destruction. But as he stood there, watching the final seconds tick away, something strange happened. A ripple in the communication network, an anomaly in the data streams. Kor's fingers flew to the console, his eyes narrowing. What's happening? Why are we receiving this interference? He demanded. One of his officers quickly ran diagnostics. Sir, it looks like the human forces are sending a disruption signal. They're hacking into our systems. Kor's expression twisted into a snarl. Impossible. They've never had the capacity to breach our encryption before. But before he could react, the entire fleet shook violently. The systems controlling the Nebula strike began to falter. The massive weapon's energy began to destabilize. A loud alarm blared across the flagship as lights flickered and consoles flashed warning signs. We've been hacked, the officer shouted. The humans. But it was too late. The disruption signal hit with full force. A chain reaction of failures spread across the Imperial fleet as the communication and command systems went dark. The Nebula strike's targeting systems malfunctioned. Energy readings surged uncontrollably before the weapon's power grid short-circuited. A burst of light illuminated the flagship's interior as the weapon exploded in a massive discharge, rendering it useless. But the mission wasn't over. Commander Ava and her team had made it to the core of the flagship. They fought through Imperial soldiers, using every ounce of their skill and courage to push forward. With the fleet in chaos, they reached the heart of the command center. With one final push, Ava planted a device that would shut down the fleet's entire command structure. The mission had succeeded. On Earth, the sudden loss of communication and command from the Empire's fleet was immediately noticed. With the Nebula strike destroyed and the Imperial warships disorganized, the humans saw an opening. They were not finished yet. But Earth's victory came at a cost. Ava's team had paid the ultimate price to secure humanity's future, and while Earth had won this battle, the war was far from over. The Galactic Empire, now reeling from the loss of its most powerful weapon, would be back. Humanity's survival instinct had saved them. For now. But they knew the true fight was only just beginning. The battle for Earth. The once proud Imperial fleet now found itself in chaos. The Nebula strike, the weapon that had been poised to annihilate Earth, was destroyed. Their command systems were crippled. Communications across the fleet were severed. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire was facing something it had never anticipated. A rebellion led by a species they had considered insignificant. Admiral Kor's face twisted with fury as he stood in the heart of his flagship. The loss of the Nebula strike was a blow to his pride, but he refused to show weakness. The humans had taken a significant step in their defense, but the Empire was far from finished. Kor was a master tactician, and he had learned long ago that the first round of a war was rarely decisive. Activate all remaining warships, Kor ordered, his voice cold and steely. We are not done yet. If we cannot destroy their planet in one strike, we will take it piece by piece, burn it to the ground. His officers scrambled to follow his orders, but there was an underlying tension in the air. Despite their overwhelming numbers, the Empire's soldiers were now questioning their ability to crush the humans. The loss of the Nebula strike had shaken their confidence, but Kor's iron grip kept them focused. They would fight until the last. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the humans had tasted victory, but they knew they were still far from safe. The Nebula strike may have been disabled, but the Empire's forces were still vast, still capable of bringing the full might of their warships down upon the planet. General Rowan stood in the war room, staring at the live feed from Earth's defense network. His expression was grim, but determined. "They're not retreating," Rowan said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "The Empire is coming back in full force. We've only delayed their destruction. We need to finish what we've started." Maya, who had been working tirelessly alongside Rowan to develop new defense systems, nodded. "We've made progress, but it's not enough. Our countermeasures are holding, but the Empire's ships are too strong. We need to turn the tide, take the fight to them." The room fell silent as Rowan considered their options. The Empire was relentless, and despite their technological advancements, the humans were still outgunned. But Rowan knew one thing for certain. If they didn't strike first, they wouldn't have a planet to defend. "We don't just need to defend Earth," Rowan said, his voice rising with determination. "We need to go on the offensive. We need to take out their leadership, their supply lines, their military hubs. We need to show them that humanity can fight back on their terms." Maya's eyes lit up as she began to analyze the data on her screen. "What if we target their flagship? We already know they've lost control of their fleet once. If we hit their command ship with a concentrated strike, we could disable their ability to control the rest of the fleet. It'll force them into disarray." Rowan nodded. "It's risky, but it's the only shot we've got. We'll need everything we have. Our best pilots, our most advanced weapons. This is humanity's final stand." Across the globe, military leaders began to coordinate Earth's counteroffensive. The entire planet was mobilizing as one force, every country setting aside their differences to fight for the survival of their species. Fighter jets took to the sky, and ships equipped with newly developed energy weapons sailed into space. The humans were determined to show the Empire that Earth was not so easily conquered. As Earth's forces began to prepare for the offensive, a small group of elite pilots and engineers, led by Commander Ava, who had miraculously survived her mission on the flagship, boarded a new experimental assault ship. Their mission was simple yet dangerous: infiltrate the heart of the Imperial fleet, disable the flagship, and cripple the Empire's ability to launch further attacks on Earth. The assault ship, codenamed Vanguard, was a sleek, heavily armored vessel designed for deep space combat. Its weapons were powerful, and its cloaking technology was unmatched. As Ava and her crew prepared for launch, she looked over the team that had become her second family. "Remember, this isn't just about destroying ships," Ava said, her voice calm but fierce. "This is about sending a message. We're here to show the Empire that humanity is ready to fight for our future. We'll do whatever it takes to protect Earth." The Vanguard took off into the void of space, cloaked and invisible to the Empire's sensors. As the ship moved toward the heart of the Imperial fleet, Ava's team began to prepare their weapons and systems for the upcoming strike. Meanwhile, Admiral Kor sat at the helm of his flagship, a massive warship that dwarfed any human-made vessel. His fleet had regrouped, and the countdown to Earth's final destruction was ticking down. The humans had disrupted his plans once, but he had no intention of letting that happen again. The Nebula strike was only one of many weapons at his disposal, and he was about to show humanity the true scale of the Empire's power. "Target Earth's defenses," Kor commanded, his voice filled with cold resolve. "Nothing survives this time." The Imperial fleet moved into position, their weapons primed. Just as Kor prepared to launch the first wave of attacks, a signal flared on his screen. A small, cloaked ship had entered the heart of the fleet. "Impossible," Kor muttered. "They've sent a strike team." The Vanguard had breached the perimeter. Inside the ship, Ava and her team moved swiftly, planting explosive charges on critical systems. They encountered resistance, but they were well prepared. Each member of the team had trained for this moment, and their hearts beat as one. The destruction of the flagship would not just cripple the Empire, it would cripple their will to fight. As they planted the final charge, Ava turned to her team, a fierce determination in her eyes. "This is it. We've come too far to back down now. Let's finish this." The team activated the charges, and the Vanguard slipped out of the flagship, just as the explosive devices began to detonate. The flagship's systems went into chaos as the massive explosions ripped through the core of the ship. On Earth, the entire world watched as the Imperial fleet began to falter. The flagship's destruction sent shockwaves through the Empire's command structure. The Imperial forces, disorganized and in disarray, began to pull back. But the war was far from over. The Empire was still powerful, and Kor was not one to retreat easily. Yet for the first time, the Galactic Empire saw what it meant to face a force that would not bow, a force that would never surrender. The battle for Earth had begun, But humanity had shown the galaxy something the Empire would never forget. They would fight, and they would win. The Empire's retreat. The once formidable Galactic Empire, now on the edge of chaos, had never anticipated a setback like this. The loss of the flagship, the heart of their fleet, had thrown their command systems into disarray. Their once unshakable confidence had been replaced by an unsettling uncertainty. Admiral Kor's cold fury blazed through the bridge of his flagship as he watched his fleet struggle to regain its footing. The humans, despite their primitive technology, had managed to strike at the core of the Empire's might. "Status report." Kor barked, his voice seething with rage. His officers scrambled to deliver updates. "Sir, the flagship is down. Our command structure is in chaos. Communications are offline across most of the fleet. We're losing coordination." Kor clenched his fists, his anger bubbling beneath the surface. His fleet, once a symbol of supreme power, was falling apart at the seams. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had taken down their command ship, and now the Empire's forces were disjointed, unable to respond to Earth's counterattacks with the efficiency they had once relied on. "We cannot allow this to stand," Kor muttered, more to himself than to his officers. "We'll retreat, but not in defeat. We'll regroup, reorganize, and strike again. Earth may have won this battle, but they haven't won the war." The retreat order went out, but Kor's plan was not to give up. He had underestimated humanity before, and he would not make that mistake again. It was time to reevaluate, time to regroup, and time to hit Earth harder than ever before. Meanwhile, on Earth, the fragile hope that had sparked in the wake of their victory was tempered with the realization that the war was far from over. The humans had dealt a heavy blow to the Empire, but they knew all too well that the Galactic Empire was not a foe to be taken lightly. General Rowan stood in the war room, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. "They're pulling back. For now," he said grimly. "But this isn't over. We've crippled them, but we haven't defeated them. The Empire will regroup. We need to be ready for their next move." Maya, still working alongside Earth's brightest minds, nodded. "General, we need to push this advantage. If we can infiltrate their communication systems now, we might be able to sabotage their regrouping efforts. We can prevent them from assembling a strong second wave." Rowan considered her suggestion. He knew it was risky. The Empire's remaining fleet was powerful, and the humans were still recovering from the last round of attacks. But Maya was right. This was a window of opportunity they couldn't afford to waste. "We'll go after their command nodes," Rowan decided. "We can't let them regroup and strengthen. We have to weaken their resolve. If we keep them off balance, they'll never fully recover." The planet's various space agencies, now united under a single banner, launched a full-scale effort to infiltrate the Empire's remaining communication channels. Satellites, drones, and specialized teams worked day and night, trying to penetrate the Empire's encrypted networks. Maya spearheaded the operation, her team working tirelessly to gather intel, break codes, and disrupt the Empire's war plans. But the Empire wasn't finished just yet. Admiral Kor, though frustrated, was not a man who easily accepted defeat. His flagship may have been destroyed, but the Empire still controlled the stars. He would strike again. He would make sure that Earth's brief victory would not embolden the rest of the galaxy. Kor retreated to a smaller, more mobile flagship. It lacked the grandeur of his original ship, but it was faster, more agile, and most importantly, still deadly. He surrounded himself with his most loyal officers and strategists. "We will rebuild," he said, his voice unwavering. "This setback will be temporary. Earth's victory was a fluke, a momentary weakness. We will return, and we will destroy them." Kor's plans were already in motion. He called for reinforcements from other sectors of the galaxy. New warships, more advanced technology, and ruthless mercenaries. This time, the Empire would come back stronger, faster, and more determined than ever. Core wasn't about to let a few strategic missteps derail the Empire's dominance over the galaxy. As Core's forces began to regroup, a strange, unspoken fear began to creep into the hearts of his officers. They had never seen the Empire so vulnerable. The humans were unpredictable, but they had proven one undeniable truth. They could fight. They could survive. And if they could survive the first wave, they might just have the strength to win. Back on Earth, the sense of unity was stronger than ever. The message had spread across every nation, every city. The fight for survival wasn't just about holding on. It was about proving that humanity would not be conquered, even as Earth's forces continued to rebuild and prepare for the next round. They knew that this war had changed them. They weren't just fighting for their planet. They were fighting for their place in the stars. As Maya and General Rowan oversaw the final preparations for the next offensive, they received a troubling report. The Empire was no longer just retreating. They were assembling an even larger force, one that could overwhelm the defenses Earth had spent so long building. "We've bought ourselves some time," Rowan said, his voice heavy. "But not enough." Maya nodded, but there was a fire in her eyes. "We have to keep pushing. We've shown them we can take a hit. Now, we need to show them we can hit back harder." And so, as the Empire began to regroup and rally its forces, the humans stood firm. The brief moments of hope that had flickered during their victory over the Nebula strike were now cemented in their hearts. They were no longer just a species trying to survive. They were a species ready to fight, not just for Earth, but for the future of the galaxy itself. The retreat of the Empire was temporary, but humanity's resolve, that was permanent. The stage was set for the next battle, the real war for the future of the galaxy. And this time, there was no turning back. The final stand. The time had come. The Galactic Empire, though shaken and wounded, was preparing for its last, all-out assault on Earth. Admiral Core, having rebuilt his forces and gathered reinforcements from across the galaxy, was determined to end the war once and for all. His fleet was larger, more powerful, and more ruthless than before. The humans, despite their initial victories, were no longer a mere nuisance. They had become the ultimate challenge. This time, Core vowed, there would be no mercy. Earth would be crushed under the might of the Empire. Core's new flagship, Vengeance, was the most advanced warship in the Empire's arsenal. Its massive turrets gleamed with deadly energy, and its hull was reinforced with the strongest alloys known to the Empire. The fleet was ready, and with it, Core's resolve was unwavering. The final battle for Earth was about to begin. On Earth, the global response was immediate. The people of the planet, who had already withstood so much, now united for a cause greater than any individual nation. The world had become a single force, united under the banner of survival. General Rowan, Maya, and the leadership of Earth's united military forces were ready to face the oncoming storm. They knew this would be the fight of their lives. "The Empire is coming," Rowan said, his voice steady as he addressed the united commanders in the war room. "But we're not just going to survive this. We're going to win. We've already shown them that humanity can fight back. Now we're going to show them that we can win." Maya stood beside him, looking at the holographic maps of Earth's defenses and the incoming Imperial fleet. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as she ran calculations. "We've developed new weapons, new shields, new countermeasures, but the Empire's forces are overwhelming. If we're going to stand a chance, we need to strike at their heart. We need to take down Core's flagship." "Agreed," Rowan said, his voice resolute. "But we can't do it alone. This isn't just about our armies on the ground. It's about the entire human race, standing together. We fight as one." As the hours ticked down, Earth's last line of defense was put into place. The planet's most advanced technology, newly designed energy weapons, deep space fighters, and fleet interceptors were ready. The skies were filled with the roar of fighter jets as they took off from every corner of the planet. Satellites and drones were deployed to create an intricate network of surveillance and early warning systems. The humans weren't just preparing to defend, they were preparing to launch a counteroffensive. Admiral Kor, confident in his fleet's superiority, gave the final orders to launch the attack. His flagship led the charge, flanked by dozens of Imperial warships. The battle was about to unfold in space and on the surface, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. As the Imperial fleet entered the Earth's orbit, the planet's defenses engaged immediately. Energy shields rose to protect the cities, but the Empire's weapons were far stronger than anything Earth had faced before. The first blast hit the shield, shaking the planet's surface. Buildings trembled. Cities were evacuated in a frantic rush as the people of Earth braced for the onslaught. The battle was fierce. Earth's forces, though brave and determined, struggled to match the raw power of the Empire's warships. Every blast from the Imperial fleet sent shockwaves through Earth's atmosphere. But the humans had one advantage that the Empire could not have predicted: their unity. Maya, having predicted the trajectory of Kor's flagship, directed a squadron of deep space bombers toward the heart of the Imperial fleet. "We're going after Kor's ship," she told her team. "This is our chance. We take out his flagship, and the rest of the fleet will fall apart." The bombers, cloaked in the darkness of space, began their attack, launching high-powered missiles designed to penetrate the Vengeance's defenses. Kor, watching from his command deck, saw the incoming threat, but he knew that his ship was impervious to anything Earth had, or so he thought. At the last possible moment, Maya's team deployed a new weapon, an electromagnetic pulse device designed to disrupt the flagship's shields and systems. The pulse shot through the darkness, and Vengeance's shields flickered and faltered. "Shields down," Kor shouted in disbelief. "What is this? How did they?" The missiles hit. Explosions rocked the Imperial flagship as it was struck by a series of devastating impacts. The Vengeance trembled under the force of the blasts, its massive hull buckling under the pressure. The ship's engines sputtered, and the flagship slowly began to lose altitude, falling toward Earth. But the battle wasn't over. Kor's flagship may have been crippled, but the remaining Imperial warships were still firing relentlessly, tearing through Earth's defenses. Cities were burning, and the skies were filled with smoke as the conflict spread to the planet's surface. In the chaos, General Rowan made a split-second decision. "We have to take this war to them. We can't wait for them to destroy us." He ordered Earth's fleet to move in, targeting the remaining Imperial warships. With Vengeance in its final moments, the Empire's command structure was in complete disarray. The battle on the ground was just as fierce as Earth's ground forces fought back the advancing Imperial troops. A final strike was launched by Earth's forces, an all-out attack on the remaining Imperial ships. With their fleet leader gone, the Empire's forces were left vulnerable, disorganized. The remaining warships, no longer coordinated by Kor's leadership, began to fall one by one. Admiral Kor, with his flagship destroyed and his fleet in tatters, gave the order to retreat, but the Empire's retreat was not a victory. Earth had proven that, no matter how powerful the enemy, humanity would not be broken. The battle was over. The humans had won. As the dust settled and the last of the Imperial ships flooded into the void, General Rowan stood with Maya, looking at the planet below. It had been a long and hard-fought battle, but humanity had emerged victorious. Earth was scared, but it was alive. And the message had been clear: humanity had a place in the stars, and they would fight to protect it. "Now the galaxy knows," Rowan said softly. "Never underestimate humanity." Maya smiled. "We're just getting started." The future of Earth was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity had proven they were ready to fight not just for their planet, but for their future among the stars. The Empire had been beaten, but new challenges were on the horizon. And humanity, united as never before, would be ready.